Welcome, everyone. I'm Anthony Villaselva from Leap the Pond, and we're joined by our friends at 2CP today to talk with you about how payment automation can help speed up your cash flow. In the spirit of transforming your business, we think this is relevant. And we have clients today who are using 2CP who are very happy with the solution, and we hope that you find this to be an educational resource to talk about how 2CP can add value to the way that you do business. And so without further ado, William, I'd like to send it your way and take us away.
Okay, my name is William Barber. I'm the CEO of 2C Processor. Also online with us today is Kyle Waltz, our CTO. Kyle, you want to go to the presenter slide?
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry. Keep going.
Yep. There you go.
Thanks.
So that's us. And on to the next slide. We're going to fly through the slides here real quick so we can get straight to the demo so you can see how our product works and open up to any questions and maybe get to pricing at the very end. So about us, 2C Processor, we've been an Intacct client, I guess Sage Intacct client, now since 2008, a marketplace partner the year after that. We've been an Advantage Platinum exhibitor for about 9 years now. We were just at Advantage in Nashville last month, had a great turnout. All of our applications are platform-based. We do have some web for services and API integrations, but our best applications that we like to show and the ones we're going to show on the demo today are Intacct platform, meaning that they're embedded within Intacct. We are a full-service shop, so we are the payments processor, we are the payment gateway, and we're also the application integrator. So the benefit of that is support is included. Any customizations is by our team. Everything is in-house. Almost nothing is outsourced outside of our shop. Everything from deposit reconciliations to interchange and so forth is all on us. We are PCI compliant, SOC 2 Type 2, and we have some of our top customers over there you can see right there. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kyle and mute my line.
All right. Hi there. I'm Kyle Waltz, CTO of 2C Processor. I want to go back to just one of these slides here. So just if you do have any questions throughout the demo, please put the questions in there. I'll stop and answer them as I can. I'm going to shut the PowerPoint off now. Going to get into that one later. And we're going to go into Intacct. So here we are inside of Sage Intacct. Everybody should be familiar with this screen here. And our integration is a platform application. So if we come over to the toolbar and see Transaction Pro 3, that's our payment gateway, and 2CP processing, that's how we configure our applications. So our applications or modules are the virtual terminal. The virtual terminal allows you to pay an invoice directly inside of Intacct, and it lets you send email invoices through the order entry email module or the AR email module, and we embed a payment link on there. We have a recurring billing module as well as a customer-facing portal, and we do some e-commerce work as well. I'm going to show you our virtual terminal first, and then I'll show you our payment gateway and show you how it's embedded inside of Intacct. So I'm going to go into order entry and sales invoices, pull up, I guess first I'm going to jump into my entity. We are multi-entity capable, multiple currency capable, so different merchant accounts with currencies in any of the entities you have in Sage. So we'll grab this first one that's unpaid. And we'll click in view. Here's the sales invoice. If we scroll down, we have the 2CP ribbon here, and it has the process payment button on it. If we click this, it pulls up a screen that has the invoice on it to pay.
I don't know why I wasn't running through the speakers, but
hang on 1 second.
Make it a little louder.
Hey guys, you're on speaker. All right. So one invoice here, or we can click on Pay Other Invoices, and it shows all the unpaid invoices for that particular customer. So if you wanted to pay all of them, you just check the boxes, or we'll just pay this particular one. We can make a partial payment. Remember, this is for the Intacct user, so someone that can log into to Sage Intacct and process the payment. Here's the billing information pulled for this particular customer, and then the payment type. We have ACH and credit cards, and we can enter new information there, or we could just use a stored account. We'll just use a stored account, and then we have a selection here. These are all the credit cards or ACH cards that we've stored on file. We'll just take one of the credit cards, hit submit. And what this is doing is it's going off to our payment gateway, Transaction Pro 3, processing the charge. If it gets approved, we go back into Intacct and create the payment and apply that payment to the open invoice. So you can see we have an authorization code and the card number and some other details. So this transaction was approved. If we close down the screen, it automatically reloads, and you can see the payment status is set to paid. Very basic manual way to process charges. To show you our payment gateway, we go back into the menu item, this time Transaction Pro 3, and click on Reports. You can see that the 6697 transaction is sitting in our payment gateway. That's a transaction that was processed. This kind of gives you the open transactions they have in their batch. So ACH and credit cards show up here. These are our reporting screens. If you needed to void this transaction, we click on void. You have the option to reverse the AR payment, so we keep the books in line with what's being processed. You have other reports too, settlement reports that helps you reconcile your bank accounts, authorizations, chargebacks, and retrievals for credit cards. Hopefully you don't get any of those. If you're taking ACH, or one of your clients is taking ACH, we have ACH returns and reject reports as well. So everything pushes down into Intacct, and we always try to keep the books up to date. So what happened here when we process this transaction? We can come into cash management and look at deposits. And what we'll do is pretend to create a new one. We'll hit continue. And you can see the 6697 is sitting in undeposited, along with a few other transactions I processed today. So our integration goes from the invoice all the way through to the deposit. So at the end of the day, when we settle the transactions to Visa and MasterCard and the ACH banks, we pull these transactions out of undeposited funds and create a deposit for you automatically. So there's no more going into Intacct and saying, yeah, that's the transaction, and then check, 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 check. Everything's done automatically. And that's how all of our tools work. The customer portal, recurring billing, the virtual terminal, any e-commerce that we've done. Whenever we take a transaction, we push into undeposited and then pull it out of undeposited to create the deposit. And so what you're doing is you're checking the amount that was deposited into your bank account. You're going into the reporting screens and you're saying, okay, it should have been 1515. Yep, checking the deposits in Intacct. Yep, everything matches, and you're good to go on for the next day. So we deposit everything as we go. Check my questions, we're good there. So let's go back into order entry, sales invoices. So the second part of our virtual terminal project module is the ability to send email invoices and receive payments. So 7175 needs to be billed. So let's say we don't have the card on file, we don't have the person on the phone, we just want to email. Everybody should be familiar with this this email. It's an email template direct from Sage Intacct, and we'll just hit OK. And if we come over here, we can see that this is the email I just received. We get them right away. Invoice 4500. We should be able to go and say invoice 4500. So your customer gets this. Most of this is just from Intacct. We have the PDF available. You have your message that you can customize. And then we've embedded this Pay Now button. You don't need something as obnoxious as this, but most people like it. we can just go in and click Pay Now. So this is your customer receiving this payment link. And it goes back and forth with Intacct a bit, pulls in invoice information. We have access to the PDF, but it was also just on that email. You can see the date, some basic information on the invoice. If you want your clients, your customers to take partial payments on this, we can allow it. Otherwise, it's just read only. Here, they would type in their billing address, and it would be credit card or ACH. And we'll just pick a card on file. We'll use the MasterCard and the card verification value and hit process. Just like the other modules, it's going off to our payment gateway, processing the charge. If it comes back approved like this one, we should be able to go and refresh this screen, and this should be paid. So amount due is 0. So everything in real time. We go back to the transaction reports and the new transactions there. If we go into undeposited, you'll see that as well. Let's see, cash management, deposits, continue, and 7175. So that's what we have. So that is our virtual terminal product. It's the process payment and the send email invoices. Best of all, what I just showed is free. So that's great. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. I want to show you our customer portal. So this is one of our most sold, I guess, products that we have, the modules. Everybody seems to like it, and this is our new one. So there's some changes from our old portal to the new one, and I'll highlight features as we go. First of all, we create a login for everybody. So if your user manages more than one customer, they can manage both with a single logon. If the company has their own portal, we can embed this portal into theirs, and then we can kind of get rid of the login altogether and just do a single sign-on. So I've logged in here. It pulls my open invoices, and some highlighting here is a drop down. If I controlled more than just AccuCrete, they would just list here, and then I could switch invoices. Another thing, this 500-US, that's my entity in Intacct. So we're pulling multiple entities into the portal as well. So if your customer has invoices in 2 different entities, we can show that in the same portal as well. Just have to make 2 different payments, but they all show up. We give basic information on the front, but you could see we have this view eyeball. And if I click it, pulls up the PDF. Now this PDF is coming directly from Intacct. So if you made customizations, added custom fields, those are all showing up on here. This is the exact PDF that we get from Intacct. So the customer can print it or save it, whatever they need to do there, but it's always available. So they can view it here. So they don't, when they're calling you guys and saying, can you send this invoice, that goes away. Just give everybody the portal access, and the invoices are there. So to pay it, I'm going to pay one. You could pay multiples, and you step through the wizard. Billing information, next. Credit card, ACH. You can enter a new card in, which is showing now, or just use the stored card. We'll hit next. Shows a confirmation screen, and we just hit process. Again, it's going through the T-Pro payment gateway, processing the charge. If it comes back approved, we create the payment in Intacct. And we show a receipt page that they can print and display it there. So that's open invoices in the portal. And if we come over here, we could see it says paid invoices. Again, it's by entity. And we're pulling all of the paid invoices. Takes a minute here, well, a few seconds, 10 or so. It's got a lot of invoices in our demo, so we're pulling all of those paid invoices. And there they are. So everything that's already been paid in the system for that particular customer is displayed right here. So they have access to all of their already paid, so they can view it. You can see we have the eyeball again, and this is very similar to what we had on the open invoices, with the exception that we watermark it with a paid stamp. So if we open this up, you can see that we've paid. So you could save that or print it, whatever they need to do. So that's paid invoices. I want to skip this one for right now and go into auto pay. So auto pay goes hand in hand with our recurring billing module. So if you want the customers to opt in and out of auto pay, then we can enable these apps on the customer portal for you. So all of these on the left-hand side are apps that you can turn on and off depending on what you need. So auto pay, if your customer, there's your disclaimer message. I'm going to click enable. I can set a primary and I could set a secondary payment. So if one fails, it goes on to the other. And then you just set the auto pay there. If you need to manage your stored accounts, you click on my account. You can do two things here. One is update your password on the top, and then two, you can do the delete or add new cards, and then you could set different ones on auto pay. So that's all done from this screen here. Lastly is the new invoice. And this is, again, just an app that you could turn on if this is what you're looking for. But a lot of times there's services that you need to get purchase, add-ons for the client. So here you select the item type, and this is coming from the order entry items. And so that's the product line, and then you select the item, and then the quantity here and the price, and we click next, and we fill out our billing information, and let's see if this, and then this will actually create an invoice inside of Intacct. So it's on a synchronization schedule every 15 minutes right now. And so when I process the charge, it goes in as a paid invoice into Intacct. And if you want a custom document type and not just a sales invoice, we can accommodate that as well. So you would just work with us to set up the synchronization, and then we'd make sure that it hits Sage Intacct the way you want it, custom fields, extra dimensions, whatever you need there. And again, if you don't need this new invoice, we would just remove it altogether from the portal. All right, I want to show you recurring billing next. And the way our recurring billing works, and I'm going to show you the configuration first, and then I'm going to go into a PowerPoint and kind of walk through. So recurring billing is one of the hardest things to demo because everything happens behind the scenes. It's not an active thing. It just, while we're all sleeping, we're processing charges. So you can see I have 4 runs set up, and the daily run obviously runs every day, and then the 90, 60, and 30 days past due we have running every month. So we'll look at the daily first, and what this is doing is it's pulling a set of invoices and a set of customers. That's the 2 things that it looks for when we're processing a batch run. And the customer groups is recurring billing. So I'd say 95% of my clients put everybody in one group, but we do have some people that like to split customers just so they can see what's going on a little better. And then we create a search condition. In this case, it's looking for something due, and then when it was due was yesterday. If we roll back to the 90-day, you can see it's looking for like dates between or over 90 days, and the 60 and 30 is very similar. And let's walk through a typical recurring invoice run, and that's where I'm going to go with my PowerPoint here. Intacct recurring payments. Slideshow from current. All right, here we go. So recurring payments. So the example here is day 1. We've created the invoice. Generally, this is the first, or it doesn't have to be though. So the invoices are listed. Invoices can be created however you want, right? You can manually create them, you can import them, you can have a recurring schedule, you can use contracts, you could use the Intacct API. All it needs to be is that invoice needs to get inside of Intacct. When that goes out, we can send out an email to your customer with a payment link. Hi, there's a new invoice created for you. You can click the Pay Now button and see the invoice and pay it, and really optionally pay it, but they don't have to. It just goes out and says there's a new invoice, and they can view the PDF. So if they click that Pay Now button, it comes up to a payment page, just like you saw earlier. So we have the ability to view the invoice. We can pay the invoice. We can do credit cards or ACH, and the page is available until the invoice gets paid. All right, so we fast forward 15 days. This is when we were on net 15, and the invoice is now due. So the due date is the 15th. You receive the merchant or the Intacct company receives a email with a spreadsheet in it that basically says, we've compiled a list of your customers and the recurring billing charges for today, and this is it. So it gives the invoice numbers and due dates and the amounts and customer information. This is really, it's just a preview. It says we're going to be charging these people. You can look it over, and if you need to make adjustments to your invoices or customers, you can do that. Sometimes you're supposed to turn them off for today and it was forgotten. But if you don't do anything, it's going to process. So now we're in the afternoon or so on the same day, the 15th, and the invoice is still due. So you'll get a second spreadsheet, but this time we have processed all the transactions that we could. So you can see the approved and declined transactions. We've updated Intacct, so payments are being created. All the failures, and so in this particular example, we have 2. So 2 of the transactions declined. We send a automated email template off to the customer. And in this case, it's the decline template. That one looks similar to this. So, hey, I'm sorry, your invoice failed to pay. Please click the Pay Now button to pay your invoice and update your information. So we get them to update their credit card on file right away. They also have access to the pay link. In the evening, what we do is we settle all your open transactions. So anything that was on the list and was processed for today, we put them in a big batch and we send them up to Visa and MasterCard or the ACH banks. You can go into the Transaction Pro 3 reports and see the settlement statements. We do funding generally next day, so you'll see the money hit your bank account the next day. So here's funding day, and so it's either the next day or the day after, but generally the next day. And in this case, we create a deposit for you inside of Intacct. We talked about that earlier. So we're grabbing all the transactions that were deposited and creating that deposit inside of Intacct. If you're running ACH and you get a reject or returns, we automatically reverse those in Intacct. So we open up the invoice again. So reversing the AR payment. In that case, we send out another email to the customer. Hey, I'm sorry, your transaction was rejected from the ACH bank. Please click below to pay your invoice and update your information. Depending on the reject, we may allow them to put in their same information again, and we might not. So if it's a non-sufficient funds, they can add, keep the same information. If it's account closed, then obviously they're going to have to change that. All right, day 18 and on, we're just going through our batches and looking for returns. Any returns that came in, we automatically reverse them, just like the rejects. Any let's see, 30, 60 days and 90 days past due, when we run those payments, they're just stronger emails, but the same process happens again. So it's, hey, you're 30 days past due, you need to pay your invoice. Hey, I think you forgot about this invoice, you're 60 days past due. And then if you're over 90, it's one of those threatening emails that I'm going to shut you down. So, but you customize all of those email templates inside of Intacct whenever you want, really. So those are at your disposal. So that is our recurring billing process. Let me jump out of PowerPoint and jump back in here. The last thing I wanted to mention is some of the e-commerce initiatives we have. We've been doing a lot more of payment pages. So if I go over here to Intacct, here's my payment page. So we've been making these for a lot of our clients. They're single one-off pages. And in this case, we're looking for billing information. But in the middle here, in payment information, but in the middle, these are items. So maybe they're registering for some class or something, and you wanted to select.
They can see this big, Kyle. All I see is a Google page.
You see what?
All I see is your Google homepage. I don't see any payment page.
Oh, it just hasn't come up yet. That's weird. I'm looking at it. Let's try. I'll refresh. I'll stop the share and then go back in. Well, it was the last thing I was going to show too.
Sometimes it goes on a different monitor.
Can you see anything? My other one has my, yeah. Server has been lost. The connection with GoToWebinar has been lost. But can you still hear me?
We can still hear you.
All right, so it's not the whole connection apparently, but I guess when that rolls. But anyway, this is a payment page. So we're collecting billing information and payment information. And then in this case, we have one drop down that is looking for items. So we generally work with the client if they need this. And some people want to collect, pay in. Basically, it's creating an invoice in Intacct or a sales order or a custom order entry email or document. So we create these payments to your specification and then give you a URL and you could direct your customers to it. And then it creates invoices into Intacct. Sometimes people want to collect billing information ahead of time, so we'll just do that for them, or it's some kind of invoice creating. We can really customize anything around payments or collecting credit card data. You don't want to do that yourself. So if it's part of your workflow and you need to get a card data before the invoice is created, we can set up screens like this. But obviously you can't see it, so I don't know what's going on with that, but we can do it. So that's my presentation here. We usually ask for questions. I don't know if anybody has any. I didn't see any come down.
My name, I'm unmuted. Kyle, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. I was muted twice. We do have a couple of questions here.
Okay.
Did you say you can or cannot pay across multiple entities with a single payment?
I didn't think we could. we never have before. And that's why the model does it. Yeah, I don't think that's an option in Intacct. And generally, we have different merchant accounts set up on the different entities. And then if it's a different merchant account, then the deposits are going to be different. And the deposits need to be created per entity. So I'm going to say no. No, you cannot create payments across entities.
Okay, great. And then the second question is, and I know we're having problems showing the screen right now, but they wanted to know where multiple invoices are paid with a single payment. To see that, maybe that's a follow-up question we can follow up with if we can't see the screen.
Well, in the customer portal and in the virtual terminal, you can pay multiple invoices within an entity. So your customer can in the customer portal, and the business user can within Intacct. When he clicked on that show more invoices and it dropped down and showed more invoices in the list to pay, that's where the business user would do it. And in the customer portal, there's all those line items of invoices. You just check off whichever ones you want, and it's a single payment for all of them. It won't send one payment for each invoice. It's one payment for all.
Great. All right, those are the 2 questions that we had, but other than that, I think this is awesome. Yeah. I'll let Anthony close it out if there's nothing else.
I would just say to all who've attended today, thank you. And if there's any information that you would like, we got one more question coming through the queue. Let me have that be heard before we close out. So, Kyle or William, can you speak to the pricing a little bit?
Sure. Meanwhile, can you show the I think the shopping cart slide, if you guys can take over the PowerPoint? It's number 13, just so people can see how that works as well. The pricing on our virtual terminal, it's free. Our payment gateway is free, so the reporting within Intacct would be included in that, as well as the email invoicing functionality within the virtual terminal. So charging a card or ACH and email invoicing and the reporting is all free. You have to process your payments with us. We match whatever you're paying now, and unless it's way too much, in which case we do better. We also charge a setup fee for our customer portal, for the recurring billing, and for the shopping cart integrations like we do for Magento, WooCommerce, Drupal, and so on. And we also do statement of works for any customizations, like for payment pages or any customizations that they'd want in the customer portal. Those are usually between $8.95 and about $1,500. We charge an hourly rate if there's something excessive other than that. And that's it. There's no user fees, license fees, monthly fees, nothing for support. We're basically after the merchant services revenue, and the integrations we've done with ERPs like Sage Intacct facilitate that.
That's great. Thank you. Last question we have, can you share any examples of quantifiable benefit that customers of yours have experienced by using this?
Sure. So we have a case study we can share with you, with your clients. It was with a different reseller, and Intacct, and they implemented our customer portal application. They had a homegrown portal that was embedded within their marketing portal, and we replaced that with our standardized portal, kind of a single sign-on iframed within it, so we can also do that as well. And they reduced DSO by 2 days, saved $150,000 annual in overhead for accounting, and increased their cash flow. I think they said they got about $120,000 in increased cash flow per month from collections and automation. So all those benefits were highlighted in the case study.
That's perfect, and that's exactly the type of value we want to start highlighting to customers into how 2CP can help transform their business. So that's perfect. Thank you for that example.
And for anybody that wanted to see that shopping cart page, I did put that up on the screen, so it's there now.
All right, great.
That's it.
Excellent. Well, William, Kyle, again, thank you so much. We hope for all customers who are in attendance here, we hope that this has been valuable to you. If you'd like to discuss further how we might help you realize value from this in your organization, please let's talk, and we can get William and Kyle introduced into that conversation as well to see how 2CP can be impactful to you. And again, thanks everyone for attending this today, and thank you, William and Kyle, for holding this for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.